How
Kailangan
will you
talaga.
find out who's worthy? Like, where do they get the chance to prove themselves, right? If you're
Correct.
completely inaccessible, I think as people that like the idea of being a founder without really,
Yeah.
as you said, like being willing to deal with the pain of being a founder.
Yeah,
like,
this is not easy. Pero
they're
diba?
kind of deluded into thinking that it's easier than getting a corporate job or something. And it's
What does it take to build something from nothing? Sleepless nights, impossible odds, moments of doubt, but also breakthrough, innovation, victory. Founders Only is back, bringing you inside the minds of the visionaries who refuse to quit. Real founders, real stories, real impact. Founders Only. The journey starts here.
Welcome to the latest episode of Founders Only. I'm so excited because this is such an exclusive. Straight off her wedding with a ring on it. There you go. She last time I met her, she was single, and I saw her literally crossing the bridge into the world of marriage in a beautiful, I would argue, wedding of the year. In beautiful Bohol, which I don't know if you know, that's where I met my wife.
no
Bohol.
way.
So it was such a beautiful thing for
meaningful
you.
place, yeah.
Yes. And again, let's welcome back to the show after, it's been years since you've last back. You've
That's
been
true.
here last. Welcome back to the show, Miss Kat Chan. Woo-hoo.
Hi. No, thanks for having me. I was just thinking about it. It's my third time on the show
Yep.
and first time on video. So I'm actually kind of nervous. I don't know. I feel a bit more nerves now than I think walking down the aisle and doing the vows. I don't know why though.
There's just two of us. Why are you talking? Nobody's
Well,
behind
it
the
was an
camera.
intimate wedding, I would say. And this is, because we all know that Founders Only has such a massive audience. We're manifesting it right now. Like,
No, but again, I couldn't
glad
think
to
of
be
a
here.
better person. I'm super lucky that you allowed me to guest you. I know, fresh off the wedding, it's a lot of things that happened, and I know how it feels like that wedding. Just after you prepare for so long, it's just a blur.
It's just a blur, yeah, just like that, right?
Like, what the
Absolutely.
hell just happened? Good na lang may SDE and all these videos for you to come back now. So that,
It's one of those like who said that? It's like there are decades where nothing happens
Yeah.
and days where decades happen. Kind of,
Yep.
it's definitely one of those things. For
But I gotta give you credit. There's one thing that Kat's very open. But if one thing I didn't know about her, it's her love life. And that was the first glimpse of me seeing like, oh shoot, she was just gone this whole time and doing all of this together. I'm like, wow, amazing. Next thing you know, it's like, yo, I'm getting married. I would like you to come. It's like, bet, I'll be there. Right?
I mean, I make a lot of these analogies for finding your investor is like
Yeah.
a bigger commitment than, or just as big a commitment as finding a life partner. It's a for life kind of relationship with a startup, and I think to some degree, like I approached the whole wedding process, or the getting married process in the same way. So it took a while to get there, but I think I'm definitely the kind of, as you know, as one of your investors, like I'm the kind of person who I think once I've made that commitment, I'm all in. So
yeah, it's high conviction. It's
High
something
conviction,
you do not rush. But let's not talk about the wedding because there's a lot of great videos out there. If you want to check it out, just look at the Chan Charkin wedding. It's very beautiful. Again, wedding of the year. But Kat, the reason why I wanted to have you here is because there's this brewing sentiment about startups, quality of startups, that it feels like we're in a lull or a weird phase. But before that, let's take you all the way back first because in a way, this is the $1 million question again. People don't know why you left Kubo, right? You were technically the founder of Kubo, and I'm cutie number one. It was not Alea, but I'm the first startup in Kubo. And I built my startup that got acquired in that place. So again, forever grateful. Chatbot PH was built in Kubo and got acquired while in Kubo. Ayun. But walk me through again why you left Kubo after you put up such an amazing institution and a pillar in the ecosystem where you were responsible for putting out so many quality founders out there.
Well, so I guess where do I start? Like, I think I should start at why I started Kubo, right?
Yeah.
So
a reminder.
So it was at the time, there was definitely a void, maybe you could say, in the ecosystem where there was not much coordination between different groups, right?
Yeah.
Like we always talk about how it takes an ecosystem and all these things. And while there have always been and there continues to be a lot of promise in the founders, we talk about the demographics, about the market opportunity in the Philippines. Like there was very little bringing it together. And I think that was really the ethos. I was also a partnerships person, I guess, even before that. So like, you know, you build on what you know, right? And I saw a gap and I saw like this opportunity to especially bring in like larger entities, right? So I was kind of working with Idea Space, which is a corporate venture capital accelerator arm, like one of the, I think the very first like of its kind in the Philippines. But then, you know, increasingly we were starting to see interest and working with government, but like they all had their own thing going on in little silos. Nobody talked to each other. And then internationally, like one of our anchor partners was also JP Morgan that wanted to kind of pick up on this whole what's going on in the Philippines. And that's still a continuing curiosity until now, right? But I think that was the genesis of Kubo. And I really felt like in bringing together different groups, right? Like, and you know, this whole inclusive thing, right? That's why it's called a Kubo. There's a Kubo everywhere. It's Philippines. We're going to have our own kind of unique spin on the ecosystem and how we could build it together. But I suppose at that point, I was 8-9 years into Kubo.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Those are 3 startup life cycles already. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I think as you said, you're cutie number 1. You know, we'd been through several cycles together already, right? And at that point, also the character of the ecosystem had already evolved, right? Like that gap wasn't necessarily as present anymore, and there were new gaps emerging. During the pandemic, we had just gone through the pandemic, which is also kind of a big shift in terms of how we thought about the ecosystem. And I don't know, like, I mean, obviously the character, and I'd also at that time also kind of taken the lead of Idea Space. So I was approached by the Idea Space board to kind of manage the fund side as well, right? So
double role na bigla.
Yeah. So it was definitely, so you might say there was a part of me that thought like, I felt, right? Like, I think at the time that I was leaving that we were sort of, in some ways, a lot of things we had started had matured. But it was also the time to start again, right? Like, we were entering the AI phase. Like, you know, I had noticed like everything had gone from marketplaces and sharing economy and the Grabber Uber of X to now it was all the decks were like the AI of X. It was also sort of at the end phase in terms of deployment from the fund side, and we would have to be raising another fund. And I think, you know, the personal reasons were, you know, as we've been chatting about before, we started the recording. You know, I kind of personally I really wanted to study. Like, I wanted to improve on myself, but I also wanted to sort of move on in some of the things that I had sort of put in the background, like getting hitched, you know.
Okay, there you go.
So I think it felt like a good time to take a pause. Like it wasn't that I mean, I still love the freaking ecosystem and I'm still involved in it in some other ways. But in terms of just day to day kind of fighting the fight, like I felt like, you know, there were things that had come to sort of or were already winding down, and I already was quite like happy with what was achieved. And I felt like I needed to kind of fill the tank again and sort of get new ideas before embarking on that next project or next fundraising cycle. I mean, I know you talk to a lot of like VCs on this show, and it's like, it's a commitment, right? Like, you know, startups raise money, like, I think, and a lot of obviously like risk capital investors, venture capital firms like understand that startups sort of come and go in the cycles, but you know, dealing with an LP, that's a completely different kind of type
in a
of
CVC LP.
A CVC LP, or even, I mean, obviously we were also looking at, you know, broadening the investor base, because that was kind of what was going on in the ecosystem at the time also. It's like a different kind of hustle. You know, commitment and hustle, right? Like I mean, the hustle doesn't go away, I think, but it's like am I ready to, especially in, Kubo idea space, we're a very early stage fund, right? So, whatever seeds we plant now, whatever capital we deploy at like day zero, right? Yeah. That's like a 7-10 years kind of commitment. And correct. I didn't know if I could start that journey again.
Okay. Actually, I want to give Kat her flowers. So this is what you guys don't understand and why we're so lucky to have Kubo before. I mean, Kubo's still around, but Kubo with Kat before is just, like top notch, right? What you see in the ecosystem, we felt so pampered na laging may papansit, there's a kulitan, whatever, right? There's Philippine Startup Week is top notch. All of these things that you now know as normal did not exist without Kat's leadership. But if whatever you can share, don't overshare, basta hindi pwede, okay? Because I've heard stories of this while you were smoking. I was cold turkey already. I would go there, ask you vape. When back then, Yossi pa tayo, I was still smoking. Of the stories of what actually what allowed Kubo to exist. And I remember you telling me, and again, just shed light of how this is not an accident, that this is an actual boon and a lot of people sacrifice to make this happen. That if they did not persist through, good luck. Wala talaga. There's nothing, because all of these institutions come inside and work in silos. And even with Kubo, they still work in silos. I've seen this annually before during Philippine Startup Week. I look at your ass and like, you guys are the most spent people per se. But walk us through the fights you had to fight. What are the things you had to do behind closed doors in order for the Kubo machine, the idea space machine, to run?
I mean, a lot of it is not very sexy, honestly. It's just being very makulit, right?
Yeah.
Like it is persistence. Okay. Yeah. No, I think a lot of people, and I see this with startups too, a lot of people have good intentions and they want to do good things, right? But like, it's also, everyone's also just sort of busy with their own thing. And like the more impact you can, it's just inertia, right? It's like literally like the laws of physics kind of thing. The more impact you can potentially make, the more risk averse you tend to be, because the consequences of messing up are a bit bigger. Like correct. The fear of failure is bigger. The reputational risk is bigger. So, and therefore, right, like a lot of things that have a lot of potential impact are also the most inertial beings, right? So if it's at rest, it tends to stay at rest, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of nagging,
and boat rides during Philip for going Boa with Goa.
A lot of like understanding even how to do things, correct. Right? It's I think about, let's say, the government. Like we went through 3 government administrations in the course of, right? And it's like every time, and even within one administration, it's like, so it's people that you're dealing with, right? Yeah. Like that change, and every person has their own, I think it's really important to think about this way, right? Like, it's like you have to have empathy for what are the goals of the person.
Yeah, they all have their own goals and agendas.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm the lead character in my drama, right? In my in my narrative, like there's a soundtrack that plays in my head, but it's totally different for each and every person that you're dealing with. So I think a lot of challenges are like navigating that, and like, this is like pre-AI, like filling out the right forms, writing the proposals in a way that appeals to like correct. Specific entities. It's like, there's no real kind of secret sauce to it apart from, it just takes a lot of, persistence, right? And understanding, like doing your research, like really caring about, again, the end goal or the problem that you're trying to solve, and, not getting lost in the sauce, so they say, right? Like, because I think sometimes you get distracted by like some intermediate goal post to get to the final destination, right? And then you kind of get caught up in the weeds, and then you never kind of push through. So I think that's one thing. And then, of course, obviously the other big challenge in starting any endeavor is kind of bringing the right people around you, right? Like,
and you built a hell of a team.
The dream is only as good as a team, like I really believe this. Like nobody can do it on their own, right? And again, it's the partners that you work with, but it's also the people that you work with, the founders that you
kind of like homecoming in your wedding, by the way. Nice seeing the OG cuties, in the
but
wedding.
It's really about again, people talk about investors taking a risk on you. It's really, I think about it in like your employees, your team, your first founders that, we used to beg founders to like, hey, please like consider having us invest in you or attending our programs. It's like, because they take a risk on you too, right? Like, like your time, your expertise, whatever you have to offer to the world, like that's valuable to you. And the fact that they work with you or they share your vision, that's something that, that's really kind of the 0 to 1 step. That's, I would say, one of the most challenging and also most important or rewarding parts of building a foundation for something that could scale one day.
Okay. Now, but I want to just drill down because I remember talking to Paolo and Franco about this. Like, walk us through, because what people always just say, especially in the ecosystem, when you're a bit naive, you think that a VC owes you a meeting, owes you a proper time and effort because they are sitting on a load of cash. And what people don't understand is that cash is not theirs. Majority of the time. Yes, they will invest something as a general partner or whatever to put a bit of skin in the game. But a vast majority of the money that they deploy is not theirs. And I want to paint that picture because, again, Kubo was a partnership between, well, at the start, it's DTI, DICT, if it even existed back then.
It's still DOST, only
DOST pa, wala pang DICT before. So it was that long ago, right? Because DICT spun off from DOST, right? You're getting government literal grant naman? Grant ba yan? Or support, money from government. So taxpayers' money. And then private institutions like the Idea Space Foundations, which is obviously bankrolled by Mr. MVP, right? And the JP Morgan. These are, do these function as your LP? And what was that process to really convince them that, hey, keep supporting us year on year and the metrics that this is the fruits of your investment, right? Because obviously long game, every single institution have a different timeline in their head of when that ROI or whatever the ROI would be. And that was Kat fighting for all of us to get these resources. Those barbecue sticks that I ate a lot, I knew where that came from. So I walk us through that grind. There are several anecdotes na lang of what made it so difficult yet so satisfactory for you or satisfying.
Well, it's, as I was saying earlier, right? Like every institution has their own set of goals or how they define what they want to get out of it. I think, what makes it slightly simpler usually for the typical VC is that, at the end of the day, the money talks, right?
Yeah.
Like with some exceptions, obviously, for impact funds and things like that, where they might have different metrics that they're looking at. But generally speaking, like as long as you get me my return, I'm good, right?
Okay. And what were those returns like for each and every, just high level lang, without narking yourself up? Baka may NDA ka pa. Right.
No, I'm good. No, I think the metrics were, again, obviously for the government, as you said, at the end of the day, there's it's taxpayers' money. It's like the responsibility is to, uplift the nation, right? It's a nation building exercise. It's improving access. It's also looking at sort of the diversity and the sort of, the breadth of the Philippines, right? Like I think even until now, there's still some notion of there's some bias for, Manila and things like this. I don't know, right? So I think there's definitely that component of, can we have local founders and local startups, solve also there's so many problems, right, in the Philippines. Like, I think there's that. There's definitely can we help Filipinos develop these sorts of world-class businesses? Right. I think government people like have FOMO just like the rest of us, they love to do these benchmarking trips. Like, I think Kubo was actually like the clincher for Kubo was like we were hosting both like ASEAN and APEC kind of back-to-back years around 2015, 2016. Yeah. And, like a part of that was like, I think a lot of our senior officials, right, were looking at other places in Southeast Asia and like, oh, how come Malaysia has this like startup thing? Yeah,
before,
exactly.
Right?
Or how come Singapore and all XYZ, like they're talking about startups, like what do we have? Like, and it's like, we want it yesterday, right? And I'm like, hey, I've had that proposal sitting in your desk yesterday. Like, you can just approve it and we can get it done for you, like, tomorrow, right?
So that influenced it pala. Because I remember Barack Obama came over, had
we had
Isa,
Menino,
yeah.
yes. And Jack Ma, I think, was
yeah.
So, everyone was talking about sort of inclusive innovation and things like this, and how could we also foster that kind of local ecosystem. Around the same time, if she got knighted recently. My namesake also, Katrina Kat Berlongan from France. So I remember like we were kind of coming up around the same time, and she was working with the French Tech or 5x5 or something in France. Like it was like their ecosystem building thing. But anyway, that's sort of, she's like a knight now or something in France. It's just kind of crazy. I'm like, yun nga, bigyan naman sa Philippines. Like, can I get knighted? No. But anyway.
By who?
In the government, like Macron or something, knighted.
Okay. I thought like the Sultan of Sulu will do that for you, no?
Like, it's like the Legion of Honor, but like I think something that you can get as a non-French. Anyway, that's aside. And then obviously for the private sector partners, I mean, I think we were looking at sort of there was definitely no intention of getting their capital back, because that was a sort of a separate sort of
that's the IBS space arm.
I think obviously I think this is a misconception. We did have to make money, at least to sustain what we were doing, and obviously to be able to reinvest more, right? But I think the idea was, I mean, there are definitely obviously like other kind of family offices and private equity entities within these groups that, if we found companies that we were able to invest in at early, that, the idea is that it would kind of funnel so that they could write the real big checks, right?
Yes.
So, but we were tasked to kind of scout the area, make sure we knew like what was going on, who to speak with, who to invest in, right? Because at the end of the day, like, I think what a lot of people also don't realize is whether you're writing like a 5 million peso, $5 million or a $50 million check, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously the amount of work isn't exactly the same, but there's still a lot of work at every step of that process. Yes. And it's sort of like having boots on the ground and kind of doing a lot of this preliminary DD was to build that funnel for the big boys investor, for them to introduce to their clients, right? While being able to say, you're also helping the ecosystem, developing the next generation of entrepreneurs. Like, I think a lot of wealthy people, that, especially the ones that have built their own businesses, they want to see other success stories, right? So there is that desire, again, the motivation is there, but then how do you put that into practice is always the kind of question.
That's amazing. And again, the done such an amazing job, and what we have now has a lot of Kat Chan stamps on it, right? Even like the TBIs that we have, right? The DOST. I feel like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, that template of how an incubator or startup incubator should be done was patterned off of Kubo. That was replicated across the thing. Because there's
I think there are like 90 TBIs now. I'm particularly proud of things like that. It's like these are ideas that have grown and
spawn from that root that you guys created, right?
And obviously people have taken their own kind of takes on it and twists on it, but the fact that it's like, it sort of kind of grew out of this idea that we could have this, right?
So thank Kat Chan. You're in a TBI, that's a Kat Chan
I'll also
move.
say, like, again, I knew I said you wouldn't talk about the wedding, but I went to Bohol for the first time because of like
the TBI.
Because of the TBI program or the incubator kind of stuff. And
amazing.
It's like, I went to science high school, so a public school. So I think when I went, I always had like a bit of a makabayani, patriotic scholar ng bayan, side of me that I think kind of grew out of that.
Adham Road.
And really, and kind of realizing that there's talent like the people I least expect with backgrounds that you don't really anticipate are, like they're the smartest kids out there, right? And they're just kind of low key, like, like my dad's a rice farmer in Camiguin kind of thing, right? And I suppose that seed was there in the back of my mind. But if I'm being honest, like if not for Kubo and this whole thing that sort of forced me to do it. I was definitely one of those people, and I traveled way more outside of the Philippines than I had outside of Manila. You know what I mean? Like, I never bothered really to experience it for myself. And in some ways, like, you know, you were asking me what the tough parts of this job were. It's like literally that, like evangelizing almost, right? Like,
when people don't even know what a startup is.
Exactly.
Right?
So, but you know, I'm so grateful for that opportunity, that experience to literally travel the country and like kind of engage with the different kinds of founders or could be founders that are there.
Okay.
Right?
Now, last question before we take our first break. Because what I love about your journey in Kubo is, as you were also helping us founders on it, in all our journeys, you were also technically a founder as well. And you are going to be bound to make a lot of mistakes as well. But I'll zero in on one. In your opinion, Kat, what do you think is the most important mistake you guys committed in Kubo, and what did you learn off of that?
Oh, that's tough. I think, okay, I mean, I think that I'm going to say this in terms of like, I think the mistake was still important that we did it, but like, so and I'm going to answer the question first.
Okay.
So I think that sometimes a mistake can be like kind of prioritizing the drum beating and the optics over the results. Like, I think that was a kind of a necessary evil. Like, it had to be done.
Correct. There
Like,
needs to be a bit of a performative art to it.
It was part of our job, right?
Correct.
Like, as you said, there was very little awareness both amongst our potential customers and even our funders, like the people that supported us. You know, like there were some champions that kind of knew what they were talking about, but broadly speaking, if you spoke with, you know, a random person, even in DTI or DOST, like they question like we get COA requests, like what is this Kubo thing, right? Like, or in the DTI building that they kind of assigned, the area or that they assigned to us, like, you know, why is our library, like, why are there kids hanging out there now and like eating barbecue sticks,
Are you
right?
kidding?
Yeah, people from like third floor had no idea what they're talking about, right? So, so institutionally, but also as we've been talking about, like even among founders, right? Like, there's like a very superficial maybe understanding of what we're doing, and I think that was sort of the bad consequence of that, right? Like it's all like kind of hype trying to understand. Like we used to do like, I think it was weekly like basics classes, like super 101.
That was intense.
Kind of classes.
Right.
Yeah. You know, it's like, so we favored a lot of just like making sure there was activity, you know, like getting numbers up, you know, like a lot of our metrics were driven by that. And you know, and to some degree that might dilute the message or, you know, like the quality might. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a big mistake. I think it's more of it would have been interesting to be more aware of it, I guess, like sooner, like, and kind of making sure that we had built more depth into it, maybe from the get-go, right? But I wouldn't say I regret it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because how can you build depth when there wasn't even a supply?
Exactly.
Right? And when you're trying to create supply, and this is, I always blame Kat for two things, okay? So before we take our first break, it's Kat's fault why I created PNA and how I created PNA. Because I don't know if you remember this, but you were definitely one of my first 10 episodes in Hustle Share that you said, I'm paraphrasing, but it's almost verbatim, that the problem of Filipino founders sometimes is that when they create their dream or their vision, it's always just for the Philippines. It's like, oh, ano?
Yeah, it's not big enough.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm right in the thick of just creating Hustle Share. That lingered. PNA did not exist back then yet. It's like, what if I create a company that literally exports Filipino stories, but that's built for Asia? Kaya nga, Podcast Network Asia.
Yeah.
It's a Kat Chan thing.
So it would have been PNP, Philippine
correct.
National Police.
Sagwa. Pulis sana kami. Okay. We have Podcast Network Philippines, but I felt like that win would have been just another circle jerk. Wala. And yes, we are still headquartered here, but
As
Kat, we went beyond. We were servicing the whole world. Ayan. So thank you, Kat. But the other thing I copied and I attribute to Kat before we take our first break is the very model, the first version of what PNA was literally copying what they did in Kubo, but for the podcast ecosystem. Which was, you got to bankroll the creation of all of these podcasts Because if you do not create the supply, and if you did not do the performative acts and create the hype, there was not going to be an industry. So thank you. I just wanted to give you your flowers there.
Thank you.
Because that's the model. PNA, that model was not profitable, so we had to pivot. We almost died there. But if we did not create 264 podcasts in a span of 2 years, you have no podcast ecosystem.
You need to build that ecosystem. You need to kind of scale it out, right?
You need to spend a lot of money to make it
and
work.
you make mistakes. I think that's definitely.
So again, that's a Kat Chan move. So thank you, Kat. Now let's take our first break. And when we come back, we will not talk about the state of the startup ecosystem. Now, what's the problem with, is there a founder's quality problem? Is there a founder's supply problem? And the hot take of Kat Chan, it's what the startup ecosystem is lacking right now and how we can improve it. But let's talk about that more after the break.
The path from idea to industry leader keeps moving forward. Dive deeper with bonus interviews, exclusive behind-the-scenes footage, and insider business strategies on our social media channels. Keep your edge sharp. Subscribe to Founders Only on YouTube and Spotify for powerful conversations, expert insights, and the business intelligence you need.
And we're back from the break. We are still with Kat Chan, who told us the amazing reason why. Now we know why she left Kubo. Yun pala, gusto lang mag-aral. Kung Pisay ka talaga, gusto mo mag-aral. After leaving school, I don't want to fucking study again. Okay? ChatGPT is my teacher now. But Kat, before the break, we obviously talked about the ecosystem, the mistakes and whatnot. But let's talk about the startup ecosystem now. I've been saying this, it ain't the same. Publicly, privately, I've been saying that since Kat left, no disrespect to the Kubo team, but it's different. Okay? Iba talaga nung si Kat yung nagpapatakbo. And I there was a bit of worry from me on that because like, shit, where do the rookies go? What I loved about what you guys built is that when you're a rookie, there's a safe space to point you toward the right direction. Right now, that's the void that I see. When you're a rookie, and that's why I keep still showing up when you kept asking me, Ron, mentor this. Okay, I'll show up. Even
you
if
never know.
Yeah, no, because I was also once a rookie that just needed to be at the right place at the right time. I was fortunate because the people that I got to meet were people who were willingly paying it forward. If I ended up being mentored by guys who were not the best people to emulate themselves or myself to, patay. I would have ended up awry from day one.
Or, you would have started on the trajectory that could have led you to it.
And I didn't even know because I was so naive. That's where it's harder to navigate. Not saying that, the TBIs are doing a terrific job in terms of really doing their best. But there's a massive gap. That's my hot take. But I'm not here to talk about it. I want to talk about, Kat, what do you see in the ecosystem now? So you've been unplugged. Ayan, nag-aral ka kasi. Pakasal ka pa. Okay.
Pwede ba?
No, just kidding. I'm not kidding you, but I'm not blaming you. But what do you see now in 2025, early 2026? What's missing? Where are we from your POV? Because you built this city, Max. Okay, a lot of what I think.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. No, for real. And sorry, I'll just one last take here. The term ecosystem builder now gets thrown so loosely, like it ain't
Everyone's
shit.
an ecosystem.
What the fuck? No, it's not. So, ecosystem builders are judged based on the output and the pillars that you've created. Oh, yung TBI incubator shit, Kat Chan yun eh. Okay? How many founders have you backed? And how many of those founders are still around today? That means you made the right bet. Yes, they didn't exit yet, pero the fact na buhay pa kami, right? 7 years in, right? That says a lot, that you found people who are not just going to be here. I mean, there's also people that didn't make it, unfortunately.
I don't want to kind of say that there's gatekeeping na parang who can call themselves an ecosystem builder.
No. But there is, you don't throw it loosely like it ain't nothing, right? It's a responsibility and it's borderline a vocation because you need to be selfless. And
I'm not selfless.
Yeah.
I think no, I don't think. Yeah, but I think it is its own kind of job, right? But I mean, I guess to go back to your question, where do I see it today? Like, I mean, I don't think this. I'm not. I do have a big ego, but not that big. No, like to think that I'm personally responsible for a lot of the things a lot of the things you've mentioned, or even that, the turn is in any way, shape, or form have anything to do with my. Pero I guess I will say, I will, even as an outsider, and sometimes I wonder if it's just because like I decided to tune out of it for a little bit and focus on myself, as I was saying. But it did feel very quiet in 2025, especially.
Eerily
quiet, right? Like, and on multiple fronts, like, and I think it's literally just the sheer number of founders that I see in the wild. Like, I was wondering if it was like, oh, maybe I'm just not invited to events anymore because I don't have that email, right? But I mean, even just looking at the hard numbers, right? I mean, the sheer deal volume, the number of deals
dropped significantly.
Like, I mean, huge drop. Although if you do look at Foxmont puts out their, I think they've rebranded now. It's called the Private Equity or Private Capital Report now. What used to be the VC report. If I remember correctly, the average deal size did increase, and I think the total private investments in the Philippines, deal value wise, did also increase. So, but I think part of that pivot to not call it the VC report anymore, to call it the private capital report, is also a nod to that shift, right? That maybe the activity isn't in the startup space anymore, or not as much, right? And I suppose the flip side of that is the no news is good news kind of thing. Like, I mean, obviously the Philippines, we like to brag about how resilient we are, but it's also kind of like we don't have the high highs, but we also don't have the super low lows. Like, so we somehow managed to miss the horrible kind of wave around Southeast Asia. I mean, I'm not the best guest to talk about it, but obviously, like, we always tend to benchmark against our peers in the region, and they've definitely had much rougher years than we have, right? So in that sense, like, maybe the dampened activity also has to do with there's just less kind of interest, like, and it's like the Philippines has become the sort of not so exciting, not so high growth, but at least it's also not cratering and going to not just zero, right? Below zero. Like, I think, so again, like, there's definitely some internal factors going on, like, that I think we can unpack today. But there's definitely also kind of, we have to step back and look at sort of the macro picture, right? About, it's like the confluence of the kind of the COVID digitalization wave has sort of died down. The AI, we can't really meaningfully participate in the AI race with the levels of capital we have in this region. And then the region as a whole just sort of getting a bit battered by bad hype, right? Like,
correct.
So, and I think, we were talking about hype a bit, and, it's like, again, it's like the lack of hype or the general quietness, like, that also leads to just fewer people participating.
Correct. And then sometimes the news that comes out isn't good.
Yeah.
And then, which pains me, what pains me is when somebody goes down in the dumps. It's the fellow founders who shit on their other founders. Like, bro, you know how difficult it is. Why will we be the one to cast judgment when you know how difficult it is to even get a chance to win?
Have some empathy for your fellow founder.
So anyway, so the thing that I really see also, Kat, and this is what I want to run by you. Let's talk about supply and demand. Obviously, this is a market, or is a two-sided marketplace. Supply. I empathize so much because for the first time in the 7 years of Hustle Share, last year was the closest one that I really wanted to quit. Because I couldn't see enough hustle share worthy founders back then. So like, hala, ano na, sino na i-guess ko? So I had to do a lot of reruns as well. It's like, what the hell am I doing here? I'm not saying not everybody is worthy of hustle share. But just to give you an idea who I'd like to have on hustle share.
Okay.
Sarah, okay? Because it's not big. Not just like who runs these.
What's the criteria?
Or who's a pogi, a fam that's out there. No. So number one, I want to see pain. Now, is this a repeat founder or is this you're so new that you don't even know what it feels like to suffer? Because entrepreneurship is suffering, technically.
Really way to sell it, Ron.
Yeah. Dude, I'm no longer this guy na, give yourself, it's gonna be fun. No, it's suffering. It's suffering for a long time. That's what entrepreneurship and being a founder is. So if you don't have a suffering story, what are we gonna tell in this podcast? Na madali lang to? No, it's not. Second is, again, humility. You want to be able to share wisdom. Oh, yeah. And third, obviously, the product and everything else in between. But I cannot get that if without suffering and if there's also breakthrough. Now, I want to make it aspirational because startups by default is aspirational.
It is, yeah.
So it's not, I learned this from you. Ayan, dami kong natututunan kay Kat. It is not egalitarian. Ayan, since 2019, I've been using that word because of chat. I had to Google, what the hell is egalitarian? It is a meritocracy. A very, very hard meritocracy. Because even if you feel like you have it, the odds are stacked against you.
Totally.
Kasi where you come from, what you've done before counts so much. And even how you look like and how you speak like
it all plays
into.
So
much. That's why I speak English like this. Because if I spoke the way I spoke before, hell nah. Kat is not going to talk to me, whatever.
No naman.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
I haven't seen.
No, that guy is, only Noreen sees it. Ayan. Kaya she loves me talaga. When she sees it, okay pa rin. Very good. Anyway, so going back, again, it's not egalitarian. It's not a meritocracy. It is a meritocracy, but the odds are deeply favored against you as a founder, right? But now that we all know this, and there's still a lot of founders that are out there. Not all founders are created equal. And I've learned how to see this through mentoring in Kubo. What I've learned is that, composition, team, time, traction. I thought of it like a VC.
Yeah.
The thing is that whenever I get invited over by Lilet, right, I would always show up. The founders, whenever I get an opportunity to get mentored by someone I really look up to, I don't care what it is, I'm going to show up. Kat, when I get scheduled for a Kubo mentoring session, there's a 50-50 chance
they don't even respect
they don't
your
even
time.
show up. Wow.
That's
diba?
dead on arrival kind of though, right? Like
they didn't even show up. Walang kahit ano, walang ni ho.
I guess we were talking about how there's so many medyo poser ecosystem builders, but I think in the founder side, it's kind of the same,
Mas
right?
malala, right? So, how can you even get yourself a chance? Na nabigyan ka, I'm not doing it because it's me. Pretty sure all the other mentors are like that too. They didn't even show up. So that speaks volumes.
I remember the second time we had our podcast discussion. Pero I think kakalabas lang or nung K-drama startup.
Yes.
Like, I think that's when you've gone mainstream, right? I think Silicon Valley, like HBO was still medyo nerdy, deep cut kind of show. But once you've gone like GMA teleseries / K-drama, it's kind of mainstream, right?
Yes, yes.
Which to me, I still interpret it as a positive signal. But I think it was definitely, the height of, again, lots of, I guess, people that like the idea of being a founder without really, as you said, like being willing to deal with the pain of being a founder.
Yeah,
like,
this is not easy. Pero
they're kind of deluded into thinking that it's easier than getting a corporate job or something. And it's
This is life on extremely hard mode. That's
Yeah.
what you're signing up for. But yun, if you can't even show up or you can't even take it seriously, and then sometimes I come in, I also mentored in some of the TBIs. Composition, one loop pa lang, tatlong devs. They don't know how to do product marketing. Even if you have the whole playbook, ang hirap. So I couldn't find founders that's hustle shareable.
Yeah.
At that time. So it's like, maybe we should shift the conversation now to founders only, where we can talk about the ecosystem freely, not just the hero story per se. Because if the heroes don't exist, doesn't mean that there's not enough heroes. The heroes are fighting every day.
I mean, I'd say you still need to keep talking about it. It's not like you do this once and then...
No, I still do hustle share, but primarily...
No, but I think that's true about the whole ecosystem building thing too, right? Like and building a startup, it's never a sprint, right? It's not a one and done thing. Like, I think again, the most common myth that everyone that actively works in this ecosystem tries to debunk is like that the end goal is to raise a VC. I mean, I think this one I slightly blame the media for, right? Like, you only ever get an article in Tech in Asia if you've raised a round or if you've completely defrauded people, right? Like, it's
There's
like
no in between.
The Forbes 30 under 30 curse, diba? Like, they're saying it's like, I don't know, like there's a cohort in Forbes 30 under 30 na parang half of them are in jail now or something, right? Like, Theranos Girl, SBF.
Never on a 30 under 30.
So it's like, it's either you're all hype / raising money at crazy valuations or you're a scam. And like, that seems to be the only thing that gets attention, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the things in between about, most founders aren't like your rogue solo founder dropped out of Harvard at like 17 or like 21 and started a company, right? Like, most startups aren't going to be unicorns. Like, if they were all unicorns, it wouldn't be so mythical and unicorny anymore, right? Like,
correct.
So, I think that's the, I mean, and again, I do appreciate that you have these kinds of shows that are kind of digging in more into like not just the hero's journey.
Pretty sure some people are going to get offended. Apologies, guys, but we're talking real talk here. That's why I found her so lingay.
And I mean, if you really want to start a business that lasts and that means something, right?
And like, business, we're building businesses here, not startups to create hype, right? The one path is through VC if you're but there's a specific playbook you need to unlock if you want to go the VC route. And
there's a specific kind of company that you want to build that makes sense to do the VC route.
Correct. Now, high growth because that's the only way they're going to get their money back, or you can prove it with profit. Then there's nothing wrong. It's a lifestyle
business. There are many ways
business.
To change the world,
exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And in the same way that, like, within our model, even within the Kubo model, right? Like, there are definitely founders that we spend more time with, and it's a very high touch. Like, as an investor, you're sort of involved in the governance and like these different elements of the startup, right? And there's also like, the scaling part that's like a bit more low touch, right? But like it creates impact in different ways. So it's like, I mean, there's no kind of just one thing, right? Like there's no just one path. Like obviously, if you want to get on Tech in Asia / Forbes 30 under 30, am I allowed to say other media things?
Yeah, go.
Right?
We're
like,
not partisan.
Like
okay.
Maybe the VC route is correct for you, but like for many, many other startups, right? You're not going to do it straight out of college. You're probably not going to like, not even like if you can build a profitable business that again changes the world in your own way, like that's the way. Yeah. Like
right. Yeah. But okay, I wanna dig deep. Why do you think there's so much fewer founders now? And if there are founders now in this climate where VCs and LPs aren't so much keen to deploy and ICs are more strict in deploying cash, what type of founders do we need to win in this environment? And how can we multiply that number to what it was before to help us get back?
Interesting. Yeah. I guess the second part's a bit harder, right? Like to answer in terms of how.
Kubo ulit, tsaka balik. Kubo.
No, but it's a different environment now,
yes.
right? So wait, break the
One
question.
muna, one muna.
One muna.
Okay. What type of founder will have the best chance to win in this climate? Or what type of startup and the type of founders would it take? Because
So
there's not a lot of checks out there anymore.
okay, so I do think that that's not entirely correct.
Okay,
Right?
my bad. Okay.
Yeah. So I think, people think that, I don't know, like kuripot lang VCs, right? And like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I do think that there's some gunpowder in the arsenal, right?
Tama.
Like some funds have closed, right? And also, I think we're probably at a near all-time high when it comes to the non-dilutive funding, like the grants and the pitch competitions and all
Yan,
these
yung mga
things.
grant
right?
farmers daw, according to an
grant
article.
farmers, yes. No, but and I mean, I think these are all amazing things. Like, and there is capital to deploy from the different venture capital firms. There's also kind of even direct investors, family offices, things like that. Like, I think there's, again, the only good thing that's come out in some ways from the disaster that's happening in the rest of the region is the Philippines has kind of become relatively attractive. So people are at least looking, right? And there are some kind of if not amazing exits, at least some exits. I think if you had asked me this question maybe 5 years ago or even less, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you ask me like, what's the biggest thing that's preventing us from having a more vibrant ecosystem, like my answer was usually along the lines of, because we don't see the success stories, there's no exit, and therefore that also curtails the supply of capital. I actually think that hasn't been fully solved. There are definitely still gaps in terms of, and not enough, right? But I think now there's actually, the bigger problem has actually come from the demand side. As we were talking about, that there's fewer founders that are kind of, not, I don't want to say worth investing in, but like definitely worth investing in right now. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in that you never know. Like, if
Tama.
I knew, like, I mean, I've been wrong so many times. Like, things that I thought were like amazing, like apparently didn't work out.
Yeah.
Like, or works out on paper but doesn't actually work out in practice. And the opposite's also true, right? Like, things that I thought were the dumbest things ever, and then like boom, right? So, but I mean, I won't disagree. I mean, I think I said this earlier. That there are, I suppose, fewer founders. Like, why is that? I do think overall, like, honestly, we're getting old. Like, I think the ecosystem's a bit more jaded, right? Like, again, we're a bit more disciplined about it too, right? So we're not just kind of willy-nilly, like anyone that makes a little widget, like, will read the deck, right? Like, and the barrier to entry in some ways is so low now. Because, like, I think before, like, you sort of take effort as a substitute or some effort in building something as a good proxy metric for at least they care enough. But now that you can sort of vibe code a prototype in like 2 prompts,
you
right?
can even create a whole org chart on agents alone.
So so like sort of the bottom that you have to clear, because like, I mean, I was in the era where you could do sort of a paper prototype kind of deck, and like that's already some research, right? Like, now if you didn't even bother to run this through some kind of AI thing,
prompt
and
your
like
thing to that, right?
if
to
you
existence.
don't actually have like traction or some prototype, like, I'm not even gonna think about, because like I feel like the bar is so, again, it's a bit higher, and people are a bit more disciplined about how they're deploying that capital, right?
No, that's true.
And then all the times you've been burned, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think this is a uniquely Filipino problem, but definitely like VCs are, at the end of the day, like, even though we're supposed to be the risk takers, like, they're still risk averse, right?
Of course.
There's so much.
There's a system to that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll do founder risk last, because I think that's what you want to talk about. But, as a general rule, right? Like, that's why they talk about the T's, right? The team, traction, like timing, tech, right?
Correct.
So you apply, right, these so it's like, I mean, it's not like a checklist, a strict framework. Maybe at the analyst level, it's like that. But over time, like, as a a more senior investor, especially, you kind of develop like a pattern matching sort of intuition-ish for what might work, what things make sense, right? And then and then of course, it's also a lot of just understanding the macro environment and the research. And that's the timing part of it. That, people call it luck, but it's actually also just understanding the world that you live in. And is this the right, solution that meets this moment, right?
Correct.
So, like someone that's going to try to build like OpenAI today is like an idiot, right? Like, so, I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, but, and I think that's what and I mean, I don't know if this is widely known, but like, Sam Altman was like headed YC, like, I like to say Kubo or Idea Space was the YC of the Philippines, but I'm going to say like for our viewers, right? Yeah. Like YC is the Idea Space or Kubo of the world.
Correct.
And I think a lot of what, helped him kind of have that, the timing, right? Like, I mean, I in some ways, like ChatGPT / OpenAI was the first mover in this now huge kind of AI boom, is because, again, I mean, if I've seen like a few thousand decks in my career, like at the YC level, you're probably looking at hundreds of thousands, right? So you just kind of develop as an investor, like some kind of, spidey sense for
pattern recognition,
happening.
right?
Pattern recognition, right? So, I mean, that was a long segue, but, you go back again to founder risk.
Yes.
We get a lot of flack, right, for, you only back like ex-McKinsey consultant / whatever.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't go to an Ivy League school / you're not a sea turtle.
Yeah.
You're not.
That's what I want to...
But I don't think that's true. And I don't think anyone actually thinks that way. Like, I do think though, like, what I will kind of say is that the sort of the pattern recognition there is a link, right? Like it is a harder battle for you to like even just have access or like your assumptions about a person. Like, it's like, it's not just that he went to Stanford or she, she worked at McKinsey, right? Like, it's just that like at some level, that like a person that did these things were also exposed to people that think big things most of the time, right? And it's not even as superficial as how you speak. Like, honestly, I think any investor's dream investment is like perfect Filipino grassroots rags to riches story. I mean, we're Filipino at the end of the day. Like, we're a sucker for the teleserye, right? Like, pulled myself up by bootstraps, kind of whatever kind of founder, right? And that's solving a super, I was going to say e-fishery kind of problem, but then that's like toxic, right? No, but right? Like, going to create a unicorn for something that really helps real people. Like, that's, who wouldn't want to freaking invest in that, right? Yeah. But, again, the more you do it, like, again, I guess the hurdle becomes higher again for someone that doesn't have these some sort of like checkbox things, right?
But why is that? Just, this is where my hot take is.
Okay.
I always say this, the reason why some people would probably say, hey, we're such in a lull and whatnot, because what we've seen during the Sunicorn era, which is the pandemic, and right after this, probably a couple months, 6 months after the pandemic, everybody was getting funded. What people fail to understand is that the reason why there's a lot of liquidity back then is basically interest were zero. Banks or central banks were saying basically giving free, cheap cash that the VCs can now afford to deploy. So the risk appetite for people that during that time, or VCs, was so much bigger to deploy because someone had to stir the pot. If nobody stirred the pot, we're all going to die. Literally. Right? We're gagawin natin, right? Where's not?
There was nowhere to put capital, right? That could make any kind of return. And so you were sort of willing to take that risk.
Correct. So everybody...
And honestly, a lot of people had traction, right? Like, I think people were, because of this, the C word, like willing to try things like, like, let's say, B2B is so huge in Philippines, right? And for the longest time, ever since I could remember and things started, like, a lot of companies had very strict kind of processes about who they would even talk to. Like, and because everything got thrown out the window, all of a sudden everyone's working from home, all of a sudden nothing worked anymore. Like they were willing to maybe we'll relax our vendor process a little bit, right? So they were willing to try a few things, and therefore everyone did show some traction for whatever widget they were, they were willing to work with startups, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but
that's one example.
What never changed though, and again, pattern recognition. I developed this pattern recognition through this show, through Hustle Share, through Founders Only. Is that, it's not chamba pala. And again, it's a meritocracy. That there's a reason why the people that keeps getting funded and that keeps going back to these shows are those people who are a fam, sea turtles, or a Filipino that worked abroad or was able to get global perspective of how to win or was able to bring back something home because they've seen it, or those people who worked in startups before.
Yeah.
These are the normal tropes that we typically, there's a few more, but these are the common tropes. Or second generation at Chinoy na natutong mag-business. There's a reason why they keep winning. It's because it's fundamentally installed into them. Di siya chamba. Right? And the way they design, they identify the right problem, solution, and the way they assembled their team. I don't know anyone na may solo founder pa bang nafa-fund right now that is able to raise multiple rounds. I can see solo founders getting funded on an angel check. I don't know anyone that's done multiple checks.
Hard for me to think of one off the top of my head. But I mean, it's like solo. I mean, I can tolerate a solo founder, but like not. I think one of the things I mean, again, every investor has their own bias, right? But to me, one thing I always look for is like, can you assemble a team? Like,
can you mitigate the risk?
This was all the way from part one that you were talking about. But, I think it's one of the biggest hurdles, but it's also, again,
the most important hurdle
the people that take, if you can't even convince people to take a risk, good people, right? To take a risk on you, how are you going to convince your investors and ultimately your customers, right? So you can't build anything that matters in a big way by yourself. Like it just can't, right? So
and again, this is a torture chamber you're going to.
Right? But the thing is, a lot of these, I mean, some of these things are and I don't say nepo baby kind of things, but it's like you can't change, right? Like maybe anymore at this point, I don't know, your pedigree or that you weren't a sea turtle. But a lot of the attributes that kind of what do these people have in common is probably the more interesting question to ask.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, I can point to a few things, right? So they think bigger. Like I think it's just a function of exposure, and I'll go back to exposure in a bit, right? But they think bigger about, again, what the problem is, who their potential customer that can be. It's like, I think at the end of the day, like, like there are sort of tech-led companies, there are kind of more people person-led CEOs. Like, each CEO has their own flavor, right? Like at Kubo, we talked about the hacker, hipster, hustler, right? Like those are but at the end of the day, like what all CEOs have in common is they set the vision or the direction. Like they're the leader, the captain of the ship, right? And,
Batman.
Yeah. And if you're the vision person, the leadership person, right? Like, regardless if your background is you're more a tech guy or you're more like a sales guy or whatever, or girl, by the way. I mean, it's fundamentally like your job to be able to convince people. Well, one, think bigger, right? Which is what my point
Not
is.
just the Philippines.
Yeah, you can't just kind of, yes, you have to firefight. That's also part of the job. Yeah, but like you have to know what you're trying to achieve, and whatever that is has to be kind of compelling enough for, again, people to get behind you, investors to get behind you, and ultimately, right, for people to switch from whatever their inertial mode is, right, from whatever they're doing currently to like, yeah, I'm gonna tune into that. I'm gonna buy that thing. I'm gonna change how I do things, and that's ultimately how you get your customers, right? So. So once they think, I think way bigger, and I think that's a super important.
That's the cat chat imprint that she's giving you. She gave that to me. You have to think bigger. Because in the Philippines, 115 million people. But if you just carve out a little whatever there, and it's not big enough.
Yeah, I mean, I also hate when people say like, oh yeah, my market is the Philippines. I mean, come on, guys.
Unless you are a shampoo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
Depende.
but even shampoo, right? Like, I mean, look at you. I don't
Hoy,
know.
nagsha-shampoo
Do you use
ako. Grabe
conditioner?
ka. I
No,
do.
you have different
Okay.
hair types, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, think about that. I don't know. Like, so I hate it when people don't break down their market. It's
Yeah,
such a pet
yeah,
peeve.
yeah.
That's to me like an ex again. But
Mm.
anyway, so or I mean not ex, but it's like you definitely need to go back. But I think
Yes.
I just remembered probably my second one, right? Like I'm not saying. I mean, obviously there are definitely when we talk about these tropes, it's
Yeah.
associated with like a privileged class, like right. But I will say that I have never met like a successful-ish founder, right? Successful founder. I won't even ish it.
Mm.
Like that was tamad. Like the hard work is there. Like even if you're like the richest kid, you're
Yeah.
like working super hard. And what do I
Yeah.
mean by that, right? It's like again taking the time to care about your problem enough that
Yep.
you break down what your market is. Like again, all of the tools are there. Your resource is here, right? Like
Mm.
again, being hardworking is not exclusive at all to the trope class, right?
Nope.
So if you have that, like, and you can do this. This is something you can do on your own. In the same way that the first thing, like thinking bigger, is something that you can build in yourself as a founder, right? So
Yep.
what do I mean by working hard? Like, obviously it's also working smart, right? But a lot of it is, like, again, even just understanding or doing basic research on
Mm.
your own company, like your own market that you're operating in, you'd be shocked by, like, I'm switching back. Sorry.
No, but
Yeah.
that's true. Kasi
Yeah.
those little things matter, and
Kasi
hard work is the bare
okay,
minimum.
yeah, like, it's like the McKinsey class, right, or whatever. Like, if you talk,
The BCG boys.
yeah,
Ayan.
because they or not the BCG boys, like the former operators,
Yeah,
former
yeah.
startups, right? You have some domain expertise, right? Like, I think it's so easy to get yourself knocked out of the game if you like have no connection with either the problem and or the solution that you're
Correct.
building, right? So
Your superpower.
yeah, the hard
Yeah.
work has to come from you to build that.
Yes.
Like, again, maybe going back to my pet peeves, like, can I say this now?
Go.
No, it's like, how can I hate it when I know more about your business and the market you operate in more than you do, right? Like, and you can suss this out in even, again, I don't know, while you're having coffee together. It's so quick to see the parang the poser, the mababaw, right? The shallow understanding of what you're doing. And this is like, again, we're in dating phase right now,
Yeah.
right? If you can't like parse this out at this level, what about when you're actually trying to figure it out and kind of
Yeah.
solve, right? At the end of the day, this is again a very long-term relationship, kind of like marriage, right? So
Yep.
it's like you kind of invest in people that you think, when shit hits the fan, when things get hard, they have the cognitive, both just the raw cognitive ability, but also the desire and the sipag, the
Yeah.
whatever, to figure out the solution, right? Not just like, oh, it's hard, sorry. Like, that's
Yeah.
not the answer you want to hear, right? So, and if you can't do that at the fundamental kind of basic dating phase, like
Dead in the
how,
water.
right? So it's hard work. It's going to be hard work now. Again, when you raise money, it's going to get even harder.
Yeah.
It's almost like, okay, now you have all this money, so you have even fewer excuses for why things aren't working out, right?
Mm.
And you have investors sort of breathing down your neck, right? So it's hard, right? So again, so hard work, right? So anyway, so as I was saying, thinking bigger, super hard work. Like, these are things that
You actually mentioned the superpower, and I totally agree. Because even if you're able to assemble a team, parang if you have not shown me that you're like the top 5% or a top 1% type at your best
that's your
skill,
thing. Yeah.
how will you win?
Exactly.
How will you will your whole team to win? Kaya minsan when I look at the team, like, sino yung superhero dito and what's their superpower?
And sometimes,
Diba?
it's like, again, I think as an early stage person, like, sometimes it's not there yet, right? But
Yes.
you can see that there's, again, that hard work, that desire, right? To be that person. Like, it's like, there are definitely founders where, at the time that we kind of encountered them, because we meet them very early, right? Like, that's part of our whole model. Like, they weren't the expert yet, but like, again, it's also about how you're able to, I don't necessarily, I know some VCs, like people that they can just sort of tell what to do. I'm not there to run your company. Like, but you can tell when someone is like eager to learn and wants feedback and then make something
comes
out of
back
it.
and
They
boom.
can say like, F this, I don't agree with you, but for this reason, right? Like, that's good. But like, if it kind of just goes in one ear and they don't even process it, they don't care, they can't be bothered, I think that's dead.
Hubris.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Deliction,
That's
right?
the difference between, I'd say, like, again, good founders and sort of the
And it took me a while also for me to understand, because when I was younger, I remember I got a lot of unsolicited advice from people na. And the younger version of me as a founder, young 20-somethings, and we were young 20-somethings, Kat, party file days, I would get offended. Like, what the heck? You don't know shit about nightlife. But in reality, being the tito that I am now, okay?
You didn't know shit about
Okay. Dude, I called people iha, and it felt normal. Okay. There's this week I called people iha. Dude, it felt like, oh shit, that's appropriate now.
It's not a joke.
Wait, but going back, if you are coming in and then you're getting feedback, diba? Unsolicited. Before, a random guy, old friend, like, fuck do you know? I'll get offended. And instantly, my knee-jerk reaction when I was younger was, whatever, you don't know shit. But in reality, after things unfolded, apparently they're right. What the cats of the world, or now I know a bit of it, is pattern recognition, because we've seen this story unfold before our eyes.
Yeah, it's
time
good
and
intention,
time and time
right?
again, right?
No, like,
we're not trying to shit on you. You know what I mean?
Like, honestly, it's work to give feedback. Like, that's the thing. Honest, maybe I don't know if I should say this, but like, when I say only nice things, that's the easiest thing I can do. So like, that's probably when I don't care / think there's gonna be anything. Because who doesn't want to be liked, right? Like, and the easiest way to get people to like you is to like say nice things about whatever it is they're, like, it's so much easier to be nice to someone than to think about what they're saying, like process it, right? And give feedback. So I think, again, if there was, that's definitely one thing among many others, right? That you can see from not just the troll people, but again, if you have, some kind of other background and you're able to kind of harness these things, like, and I think it's also, I think a lot of people that maybe, so I think, let's say people that grew up in families that also had businesses, like, it's normal for them. Like, they grow up, like, getting exposed to these kinds of conversations and maybe getting feedback. Like, usually you're, at least in the Chinoy upbringing, right? Like, your parents are tougher than you than anyone else, like the tiger parenting kind of stuff, right? So you don't mistrust people just because they say bad things to you.
You don't get hurt that
You don't
much.
get hurt. Like, it's
and
because
they're used to high expectation from day one.
And because you know that, like, it comes from a place of love, right? Like, I mean, maybe I wouldn't say love necessarily for all the investors out there, but it comes from a well-intentioned place. Like, I'm telling you this so that you can learn, right? As opposed to, I'm telling you this because I'm putting you down or because I think you're a shit person.
Yeah.
And I think I think there are certain people, I wouldn't say all, but like, I think that I do see it more often with people that have maybe a harder upbringing, that they kind of, I think it's a defense mechanism, right? Like, or like it's like, oh, people have been kind of putting me down my whole life kind of thing. And I mean, I definitely empathize with it, but I can't say, I think it's not a helpful kind of mindset to have, right? Like, as a founder, that, I'm not saying that everybody you should be naive and like, oh, everyone in the world is trying to help me, right?
No,
But
no.
that's not true also.
Correct.
But, but I think there are, you shouldn't take every kind of negative thing that's sort of said about you.
Yeah.
You should always kind of approach it from a place of learning, right? Like even failure is an amazing way to learn. And you also learn from the people around you. Like being the best at something isn't being about the person that has the answers all the time or being right all the time, right? And also again, I don't want to say sort of victim mentality, but I think if you are one of these people and you feel like you don't have the inherent privilege, right? I think it's really important, and I'm surprised to find myself talking about this in this context because usually I get asked this sort of question.
In a panel in front of everybody.
No, for women stuff, right? Usually parang, oh, I'm a female founder, like what do I do, right? Or whatever. Like I'm sort of inherently kind of the world is trotting down upon me kind of thing. But I don't want to say it that way. I don't think that's, but I also feel like I hear it more now also from founders, especially the ones that seem bitter na parang they didn't get the check or they didn't get, as you were saying, like maybe, I don't want to say entitled, but kind of like that, right? So yeah, that it's not like they're out to get you. And a lot of it, there is, I'm not going to deny that there is some implicit or unintentional bias, right? Like in terms of gender roles, for example, and let's say founder roles, diba? So like again, I think I'm comfortable with or I've talked about this a lot in the context of like being a female founder.
Yes.
Like, like the female founder, it's only good if you're doing like a beauty company, like a girly company, or the role you can have is like chief marketing or chief HR, chief people officer, but you can't be the CFO or the CTO or ganun, like or you shouldn't be the one that's gonna pitch because like that's like
Grabe.
the guy will get the money kind of thing, right? But I think if you replace female here in the, I'm the founder that didn't study abroad or whatever, right? Like, that's a thing. I think it's more you. Like, no, I don't know a single person that actually writes checks that, again, thinks this way. I think it's in your head. Like, again, it's, I keep saying victim mentality, but like there's something stopping people from themselves that I think isn't actually present. Not to say that they don't have, as we've been talking about for the past, I don't know how long, right? Like that there isn't some pattern recognition or some bias or some assumptions, right? Like you probably wouldn't even be in the same room with a person if they didn't have like some connections or whatever already, or they found out that this event exists, like something, right? Like, but at the same time, like, they're not approaching this with like, they're out to get you or like make fun of you. There's no kind of secret like, oh, we're meeting in Sinigang Valley to like gossip about like, ooh, look
it's
at
not
that guy.
Mean Girls, okay?
Yeah, it's not Mean Girls at all. If anything, it's the opposite, right? Like, I think the worst thing for you, and if you're already in that position, is that you're not noticed, right? Or you're not finding yourself in the same, having the opportunities to talk to these people, right? But if you're there, like, if you find yourself in that position, right, where maybe you're not the ones that people that naturally kind of pop out, then you have to make yourself visible and in a good way, right? And you have to kind of, again, go back down to fundamentally what are the attributes of the people that do get funded, right? Or that are able to sustain their businesses, right?
Tama.
And is that something you can do yourself? I'd say yes. Like,
absolutely.
That's the whole point of like ecosystem building.
Correct. Now let's take our last break, and when we come back, we will talk about this article that I recently saw about like what's wrong about the ecosystem and where are the real founders and how come the same types of people are there. And I'd like to do a couple of hot takes with Kat, not just Kat, me too. Okay, because I feel like there's a lot of things that are right there, but there's also things that we will want to give perspective on because it's missing some pieces of the picture. And we're back from the break. We are still with Kat Chan and told us an amazing POV of what she has in terms of the types of founders that would win, why they struggle. why some teams are just not built to do that. Pero here's the thing. A startup journey is always a constant iteration process. That's why I never bury a startup from the get-go. Yes, you will probably come from a handicap, as a lot of us would come from. But there's always a path. If you surround yourself with the right role models, and this is what's missing before when we started out, who do we look up to fucking emulate? Wala, bihira. It's very, very few.
I mean, there were kind of godfathers or people that were successful, right?
Yes.
But I think an interesting thing with, that maybe I'm still waiting to see in the current generation is like, I mean, I think we kind of said like, F it to the establishment, right?
Yes.
We're gonna do like, this sucks, so we're gonna do it better. We're gonna do it our own way. Like, I'm not to make myself a brand or whatever, but like, I'm looking for the next Kat Chan to like shit on Kat Chan, right? And say, what you did was wrong. Like, this is how you should do it. But in the process, right? Like, again, try to build something and like, I mean, disrupt was the USA word of our time. Again, it's less so now. But my point is like, I think we saw like, we maybe didn't have role models per se, right?
Correct. We had to figure it out on our own. There's there's the .com bubble forefathers that we had, but there's few and far between. And the products we were building in the mobile era, in the agile era, is totally different than what it was.
It's like kind of recognizing how you can build on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, but also now kind of doing your own thing and like.
Pero there's this one interesting thing, because a lot of the .com OG guys before that I wanted to be mentored by, I couldn't understand why they're so unavailable. So I still got lucky. Like, I got to meet the Georgies of the world. We were just making himself available when he can, blah, blah, blah. Pero I wanted to meet several guys. Like the Chica, the Dennis Mendiolos. I never got to meet him. But I'm pretty sure I was going to learn a ton from. And now knowing what that cycle has now repeated itself. Because now what's different about the startup ecosystem is the young gen, the young 20-somethings, have the titos like us, the 30-somethings, the trentahins.
Are you the cheetah now?
Yeah. Wait lang, one. I'm the runster, the tito runster. Okay, that is willing to partake in passing it down. Not what we've learned, but what are the potholes you can avoid? Because if there's one thing that we're really rich in, it's not money, it's not experience, it's mistakes. And a lot of these mistakes you're bound to do. Pero I saw an article, which which you shared with me, which really brought this up. Na, again, shout out to Miss Connie Barrientos Carey from Cebu. And run 010 Park in Cebu, I think. And the article is very interesting. There's got a lot of people reacting. It's called "The Philippine Startup Ecosystem's Dirty Secret: Why Real Builders Don't Bother." Ooh, and I agree with a lot of the stuff that she says. There are some takes that I would want to give light to. Pero the main overarching thing is that, and we'll drill it down one by one. I want to do hard. Pareho tayo mga hot take dito, hot take. Yeah, but basically the overarching thing is that it can be verbatim, a quote, basically, that the ecosystem builders brandishing PowerPoint decks about disruption, government officials ribbon cutting their way through an incubator tour, and rotating carousel of founders pitching apps that have been built before somewhere else years ago. That what you will not find are the people who could actually change the country. Yes and no. I'll make a first stab, Kat. Para ako muna itong barilin nila. Okay, the ecosystem is designed for optics, not outcomes. We were discussing this earlier. Now, you need to put the optics because you're trying to create something.
Yes.
Right?
It's a necessary part. It's part of the job too.
Yes. But you have to back it up. If you talk big, you talk like this, you gotta back it up. You know what I mean?
I don't, that's a thing though. I would pick any day like a place where people are building hype over there's no talk, no hype, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't think in and of itself it's a bad thing. And in fact, it's not like the Philippines is uniquely the only country
No.
where this happens.
It's part of the
Like,
formula.
yeah, anywhere, right? Like that you're trying to build something, you're trying to start something, you need to build the hype machine, right? So I don't think again, going back to what you said, like, but backing it up, of course, is again, it's not a one or the other thing.
Correct.
You need both. But,
Yep. It's not a zero-sum game. Now, the other thing that they brought up, I'll skip a little bit, but I'll go through basically the overarching thing where basically the founders, the real builders are not there. And what you basically get are a lot of, wait, I'm just going to go through para hindi ko ma-misquote, okay? The ecosystem needs fewer cheerleaders and more builders. This is right and this is wrong. So where it's right is when you go to an ecosystem event.
Okay.
There's always, what its article says is that there's a wantrepreneur. I'll share it on the show notes, by the way, in the comment section as well. The wantrepreneurs are always important because that's a supply. There needs to always be a new batch. The kids that are crazy enough like us to want to try to do it. But if you end up being, say, mentored by a charlatan who hasn't really built something and they're no longer in those events, and most of my friends and my peers are no longer there, you're probably going to be in a situation where it's the blind leading the blind. Puro cheerleading, nothing gets built. What you're lucky with now is, again, there's so many role models who have made mistakes. I'm not going to say we're successful.
Yeah.
That you take it with a grain of salt. That's always relative,
you can
right?
leapfrog some of the...
Correct.
You can avoid the same...
Yeah, don't go through the same pothole that we went through. 500 people went through that. So
Pero
what?
sa ways lang, diba? Like, meron ng mark, meron ng ano doon.
Don't go there anymore. So what I'm saying here is that, yes, the builders are not there in the events.
I'll ask you though, so why aren't... Ako na yung
Yeah,
host.
go, no.
No, I'll put you in the hot seat. So I think now, like, it's a bit... Because I still kind of show up to events.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, why do you think you don't go anymore? And siguro
Three reasons.
I'll do a quick thing now. Like, so even in our time, like, because I think one of the things we like to think we do as enablers is to provide that access for someone who typically doesn't have access. And even, again, this is what, 15 years ago now, we had the names you mentioned earlier, they were all in the idea space, faces of change.
Yeah.
So we had like a few events, there were definitely videos, there was like para meet and greet, networking opportunities with, it was at Maria Ressa, Winston Damarillo, Chito, Dado, may he rest in peace, Georgie. Like, they were all literally in the same room, and like, it wasn't even a super huge room.
Yeah.
Pero, like, again, and in Kubo, we repeatedly did this. And like the founders that took advantage of this opportunity, like, I remember, like, I mean, and to this day, like, si Roland, Kumu Roland would like say like, oh yeah, like, you got me my first meeting with Liza Gokongwei and Piki Lopez, who's also like super controversial now, right?
Yeah.
But I think one of my what I thought my role was, right, in building a place like Kubo is to sort of democratize access to the people that you think are not there. So they don't show up often, but they do show up. And I will tell you, in the same way that there's a 50-50 chance that like your mentees don't show up to when you're now the mentor, diba? Like,
Correct.
It was actually such a huge lift for us to like, it was already a huge effort to get these people to show up to something, right?
Correct.
And then even worse is that you can't even somehow get the founders allegedly that are so present and there to go. Like, you have to beg them to, hey,
right?
please be mentored by like, you know, the country's like fifth richest man or something. Like, and the people that do take these opportunities are like,
make leaps.
Exactly. Pero not just mentor. I mean, sometimes it's not like explicitly like this is a mentoring session, right?
Yeah.
But like, I've already opened the door for you, or I've at least unlocked it. Like, please push it, right? If you're expecting the enabler to, hey, like, I have to serve you barbecue pa and like give you free
the great pancit.
Right.
Oh,
Exactly, right? And then there are people that kind of do this. Like they go for the food, right? Or the I
Sorry,
don't know,
Kat,
the free
I was one of
merch.
them at one point. Pero I
Yeah.
participate, okay?
Yeah, but at least he showed up, right? And but anyway, sorry, going back. What we're talking about? Yeah. So
Yeah.
why don't you show up? No,
I still show up. I'm not one of those.
You're not one of those.
Pero I would classify it under 3 reasons.
Okay.
So a lot of my peers, I'm second generation, third timer startup founder na pala. One loss, one exit right now. But a general sentiment that I see falls under 3 reasons. Number 1, yung mga unicorns, especially those ones who've been able to raise seed A, there's very, very few people get to raise A and above, blah, blah, blah. They have been like the moon. They're so cratered by so much fucking
Requests for their time.
Yeah. Sila yung pinaka-binugbog in the whole ecosystem of other founders fucking them over behind their backs. Which is the most fucked up thing that I hear.
It's super toxic, yeah.
Bakit? Just because they've been able to raise? Is that you don't know the type of willingness of them to really help pay it forward, open opportunities for you? Then sila yung pinaka-binugbog. Bakit? Inggit tayo? Right? I also had that before, mind you. But I realized, man.
And I think it's also very dismissive of the
Correct.
effort, right? Yun na nga eh, like I think, and we talked, I'm not gonna rehash this because we just talked about it, but it's like people think that it's just because they were X, Y, Z, right?
Yeah.
Like that they're...
Yeah. And then
it's
why
not.
would they show
it's
up?
Absolutely not.
If they know, the people, you can create, pero the gossip. This shit goes to them too. All right? Number 2, they're jaded. Of course, when you get through this, and yun din lang pala maririnig mo na fake high hellos, why the fuck will I even show up? Guess what? They don't stop paying it forward. They do. For example, Steve C has this thing going on, this faith-based thingamajig. Does that mean that he doesn't show up to ano? Dude, I'm pretty sure Steve C, if you really just want him to come, he will. But he's doing it in his own right to filter out yung mga tingin niya na pwede without having to be fucking fucked up by people who are gonna pull him down. And number 3, the most important thing, opportunity cost. The builders are literally drowning neck deep in operating. Yep. We're in firefighter mode, right? So if I'm gonna go there, and yun nga, my 50-50 chance that the person I'm gonna mentor is not even gonna show up or won't see value, why will I even waste time? But mind you, here's the thing. I talk to them often. A lot. We still get in touch. The general sentiment is that what can we do to help the ones that are worthy of the help? Because they still do deal makings behind the scenes. They lift founders up, pero those are the ones who are willing, and it doesn't matter what type of trope they come from, AFAM, PhilAm, local, but you need to earn it. And in order for you to be able to unlock it, you have to go out of your way. Hindi sila entitled na kukulitin. Wala nang Kat Chan, guys. They're not gonna, she's not gonna beg them to fucking show up anymore. That's what we lost when she left Kubo. Na mangungulit talaga, please show up.
That's the thing. I think I absolutely understand. Like, I mean, we've spoken about how, when you raise money is actually maybe the beginning of the hard part, actually.
Yep.
Right? So the unicorns, the ones that have raised, right? Like, they're under immense pressure and they don't have time. And obviously, even me as someone who's already developed a reputation for asking people to do things and go out of their way, right?
You can't say no, eh?
It's hard to ask, and because fully knowing that it's like, again, there's huge opportunity costs, but I do think, and I don't want to put you in the hot seat, but I do still think it's necessary because. How will they find out who's worthy? Like, where do they get the chance to prove themselves, right? If you're completely inaccessible, I think I do sense that a bit more now, a bit more gatekeeping in the community, or like, unless you already kind of know someone who can make intros for you or whatever, like that you won't even have the chance to ask. Like the random encounter, the serendipity, which I loved about the Kubo kind of method madness, right? Like we used to kind of do weekly events, even if no one showed up, even if one guy showed up, we were gonna continue the freaking thing. Like it was like not one, but like I'd say if at least two people showed up, like apart from the speaker, we would do it, right? Like, and and it was just kind of like that when we were starting out because that was what it was, right? Like, and eventually, it caught on. But I think it is a bit sad that I see that it seems like now it's very, if not invite only, like you rarely get that serendipitous chance encounter anymore. That sort of, I got random feedback because it's also this weird thing, right? Like Gen Zs don't drink na daw and stuff like that. Like, I'm not promoting drinking, guys, but it's like, but just to be clear, but I do think there is some value in being able to, kind of see or you don't even think of them as mentors, right? Like at the end of the day, they're people. Like the reason I can sort of, or I have been able to through the years, like ask like people that are like, whoa, how did you get blah, blah, blah to like speak or show up or whatever, right? Is because like there was once upon a time I was the intern and I was like saling pusa in this event, right? Like, or we went abroad and I was like the guy that didn't have the VIP speaker badge yet at the conference. I was just sort of like chilling out there, and like you kind of run into someone that one day, like, is a big deal, right? Yeah. Or I don't know, had Yossi breaks with a founder that would one day be like the leading voice in the startup ecosystem, media sphere, or whatever. Like, I mean, no, but I say it jokingly, but so many things there. I can probably name like dozens of stories that kind of start in this unceremonious sort of way, and I do think I'm not saying you owe it to the ecosystem by any means. I mean, I've also been less present, right? I'll admit to that, but I do think it's necessary to, again, the optics are necessary. We've touched on that, but also I think there's also a bit on the builders to show up.
They will show up, pero yun lang, it has to be worth it.
Yeah.
Right. So a couple of things, and we'll breeze through this quickly.
Okay.
So the ecosystem designed for optics, not outcomes. We talked chat. The grant trap and the culture of fake traction. Okay. So I still remember 2019 when I had Carl sa Tinitigan on Hustle Share when the Philippine startup law was approved.
Yeah.
Or lapsed into law.
Yes.
It didn't get approved. It lapsed into law. Okay. And literally, that basically predated and allowed the creation of all these grant funds, right? In DTI.
And the startup venture fund. So I'm part of that now,
or whatever that. But basically, the government investing grants into startups.
Yes.
And what the article says here is that there's now programs like the DOST setup and technology TBIs initiatives, the ICT grants, and various local government startup funds have created an entire class of what the insiders quietly call as, quote, grant farmers, founders who have mastered the art of winning government money without ever building a sustainable business. What's your take on this? So, full disclosure, we got the grant. Okay. Grant farmer ba kami? Isa lang naman nakuha namin for Seria FM. So thank you, DOST. Thank you, Paul Pajo, for helping us, guiding us the right way. But I don't know about this grant farming. And do you think it exists? And why? What's the loophole here?
Okay. So yes, it exists. Like I've personally, I'm aware of companies that sort of subsist on
multiple grants.
Yeah, on multiple grants. I mean, there is sort of a provision where you can't double dip at the same time, but you can jump from one to the other. Ooh. And there is sort of a mechanism by its design where you're not supposed to progress, pero where you can, right? Like it's trying to address kasi a funnel, right? So by its design, the grants can get bigger and bigger, right? Like, and it also, like maybe one grant is designed to help you prototype and another one is designed to help you market and scale, for example. That would be one mechanism or how that could work out, right?
Okay.
So, and I don't think that's inherently, again, flawed or a bad thing.
It's a loophole, probably.
Yeah. Like, and I do think, again, I think part of my maybe not issue with this article, but, something I don't fully agree with is like, it makes it seem like this is like a uniquely, again, Filipino problem. And I think, obviously, it's also a different kind of skill set. I don't necessarily know if it's a founder skill set, right? To know how these requirements and grant funds work. And people definitely do game that system. Like their source of livelihood, right, is these grants. And like, I think there is some perverse incentive there where like you're kind of almost, well, one, they're also inherently, again, because you're dealing with taxpayers' money, pretty bureaucratic and slow and all these things, right? So, it's almost like a perverse thing to actually running your business because like instead of focusing on running your business, you're like, I mean, you said you've received a grant, right? So it's like dealing with the administrating and dealing with this grant is
not easy. It's harder, in my opinion, it's harder to get a grant than actually getting funding from a VC.
Yeah. In some ways. It again depends on your business, right? But it's also, I will also say that like there are some businesses that are inherently, again, VC isn't the right path for you, right? So there are certain kinds of models that are not inherently scalable, but maybe they have some kind of, other. I just wish, right, that like this funding also came with a bit more of the soft kind of, and again, the exposure to, because I think a lot of the people that kind of operate these programs, again, while very well intentioned and maybe academically like knowledgeable, right, about what they're doing, don't have the operator experience or the grit. And again, they don't have exposure to people like you, right? Because like,
correct.
I mean, if you think about it, we've started this like almost a decade. What? It's been more than 5 years since the law came to be. And just rolling it out has been slow, right? Like, again, SVF is something that I'm happy to be part of, but I'm very vocal about how we're very slow at deploying, right? And things like that. And, like there's so much more that we could be doing, right? Or ways that we could be directing the money. I don't entirely blame the grant farmers. I think they're taking advantage of a system that was built in a certain way. That's their hustle, right?
Yeah.
But like,
do what you need to do.
But do I want like my taxpayer money going to those businesses? Like, not really, right? Because I know that they're not building anything that, anyone's really going to benefit from, because you don't even see a path to them becoming real and viable businesses, right? Which is ultimately what it boils down to.
That's right. Okay, I'll skip through a couple of things because it says the investor class is playing a different game. I think the best way to answer this is listen to the Paolo Campos and Franco Verona episode. That sheds a whole deep dive of how VCs work. I mean, Kat is a VC, but I don't want to waste your time anymore. Okay, so the next one, and I want to the next two actually. The first one is called the talent arbitrage problem. She believes that the moment remote work became normalized globally, it triggered a quiet but devastating talent exodus from the local ecosystem. That's correct.
Yeah.
Super agree, because the type of talent we're dealing with and what we can afford as startups, sometimes the only path is to develop someone from the ground up. And the moment they become better, they're going to be poached by someone who you can't even match. I've had that in Chatbot PH. Man, I have so many great devs starting with me. After 2 or 3 years, they get a hell of an offer and I can't even match it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that, it's like, again, we do have a challenge where our best and brightest aren't necessarily attracted to this industry, right?
Yeah.
And the capital piece does factor into that, right? Like, unless you have a ton of money to pay, like top tier talent. Like it's just like osmosis, or like I feel like devs it's like amoeba, right? Like you just sort of naturally float towards like. So I think it's. But I am glad though that like. I'm glad to see people that sort of work in these bigger, well-funded kind of companies sort of when they either become founders or kind of, I mean, I think it's one of the best ways to gain experience. Again, if you're sort of straight out of school and trying to build a company, again, from the pattern matching stuff we talked about earlier, it's not necessarily, a very strong path to start, but having, working in the sort of high pressure environment of a startup and then either starting something yourself or co-founding something with people, right? Or even trying to raise money after that to fund your next thing. That is like, a good, one of the better kind of starting points if I had to pick one. So, but yeah, it's true, right? Like you can't deny that like.
But now the talent gap, that gap actually doesn't exist anymore with AI.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about this. There's an open call event last night that I went to. That before the top devs and say an entry level dev, the biggest the difference between them is the skill gap.
Yeah,
the type of languages they do, how fast they deploy. Now the only language that you need is English. Prompt your way or vibe code your way to existence. The time that you can develop an MVP. Virtually overnight.
Yeah. And anyone can do it. Not anyone, but.
Yeah. But it's not, again, that gap where before a senior dev would cost you 6 digits easy.
Yeah.
Versus what it is. No, that did not exist. And that's also true with a lot of the industries that AI has been able to bridge that gap for. So now the onus is on the entrepreneur or the founder to make sure that they do something amazing because it's a race. It's an arms race now. What can you build off of this?
That's the thing. Like your sort of deep understanding of the problem becomes critically important, right? Correct. It's like what do you prompt now, right?
Exactly.
Because, I will separate a bit the sort of senior tech talent level. Yeah. That's still absolutely necessary, right? Like, but in the 0 to 1 / building phase, like there's again no excuse anymore.
Yeah.
And again, if you don't understand what you're trying to build, I think if you don't have the vision, right? Again, the clarity or like the desire to understand the problem, like it's not a technical limitation anymore. I can't find a dev, right? Like it's really, again, your understanding of what the problem is and how are you able to provide a unique way to solve it, right?
Correct. So, okay. Now, last few before we go. Kasi ang daming umaano dito. He says the wantrepreneur layer and why it dominates. And I'll read a couple of paragraphs here. Into the talent vacuum led by genuine operators, the Philippine ecosystem has been filled by a particular type of figure, the wantrepreneur. These are individuals who are intensely interested in identifying in the identity of being a startup founder without necessarily being committed to the brutal, unglamorous work of actually building something. They attend every summit. They post motivational content about the founder journey. They pivot constantly, always chasing whatever vertical is currently fashionable. Web3 last year, AI this year. They collect co-founders like accessories and shed them just as quickly. They are experts in the language of startups, MVPs, product market fit, burn rate, runway, without having to demonstrate mastery of any underlying discipline. Sorry, I'm going to finish the whole paragraph now. The wantrepreneur class is not unique to the Philippines. She's right. But in an ecosystem starved of genuine role models and institutional knowledge, I disagree. The role models are there. They're just not in the ecosystem. Find them. They're all in Hustle Share. Reach out. Reach out on LinkedIn. And if you need my help, I'll hook you up. Pero I'll gatekeep muna. Kasi baka magpakilala ko and you don't even show up. I will cognac you to the face. Okay? They become disproportionately visible and disproportionately influential. They dominate the panels, host the podcasts. Did I get a stray there? Okay. Are you pertaining to me? And mentor the next generation, passing on an aesthetic of innovation rather than the substance of it. Real operators who tend to be heads down and allergic to theater look at this environment and quietly decide it's not worth their time. You're right. Like what I said earlier, my broskies are not here because Binugbog
Is
niya.
that how it ends?
Okay.
Like, I mean, is
No,
there...
there's a few more.
Yeah,
But
okay.
basically that part of
I'm just
entrepreneurship.
curious, like, this sounds a bit ranty, but I don't hear any kind of solutions, right? Like, or...
She just pointed out the entrepreneur there. Yes, there are entrepreneurs. Come on, Kat.
Yeah, of
Kumakain pa
course.
nga sila ng pansit and this. I remember a couple of guys in those events. But there's also just genuine rookies that just need mentorship.
Mhm.
That's why I still show up and some of my peers still show
I
up.
feel like that's... I do think... Okay, well, the way it's described, it kind of lumps all of those together, right? And
Yeah.
I think being a wantrepreneur is
Yeah.
like, what's wrong with that? Right?
We all started as one.
Yeah, like,
I was
I
a
mean-
entrepreneur before.
Fake it till you make it,
Yes,
baby. I mean,
fake it
that's
till you
the sort of unofficial slogan of like any early stage founder, right?
Correct.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with not being there yet.
Just
Right.
back it up.
Yeah, but there are things pointed out there where I do agree. I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, all the wantrepreneurs are
Yeah.
created equal, right? But then again, I think it goes back to these, how do you back it up, right?
Yeah.
Like the hard
And if you need
work,
role
the domain
models, the best
expertise.
way to actually find out about them is understanding the real journey. Not what you read on whatever fucking publication. Again, I'm gonna be biased here. Listen to their origin story on Hustle Share. I have 7 years worth of content of the
That's
best
the thing, though.
founders.
Start there, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're not gonna get to know like the real, like have a one-on-one sit down with a lot of these people overnight, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. A lot of people like make an effort to put themselves
Yes.
out there. You know, like every investor has like a website. This is what we invest in. This is what we look for. And like, if you, again, at least be bothered to do your basic
Correct.
sort of research on who you're talking to, why you need that particular. I mean, another kind of common mentoring thing, right? Like they show up and then ask you a super open-ended question. Like, I mean, think of a question, like, what do you want to, like, how can I help you if you don't even know what you
Be
want to
specific,
know?
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's
but there are a lot of there is a bad side to being a wantrepreneur. I will agree with that, like in part, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like a lot of and I think this has been a recurring theme here, like that it's shallow, right?
Yeah.
Like that it's it's mababa, right? Your understanding of your business and even your desire to push through when it gets harder, right? And sort of expecting that it will just kind of happen, or you like the idea of being a founder more than actually building a business.
you have to. Sorry, I'm gonna be morbid here, but you have to suffer like us, guys, because that's the game. It's torture, and hopefully through a lot of repetition, you know the potholes, you master the path. Then there will be hopefully a pot of gold, or if not, a lot of humility and a lot of lessons after.
Which is also valuable in itself.
Absolutely. You know, that sometimes it's not really the end, the pot of gold at the end of the thing. It's the journey and how the better person that you've become. And I always say it in the podcast recently now that the startup, literally the barometer of how far your startup would go is your personal journey as a founder. Now, I always say it like, dude, Kat, if I just look back of what I was 10 to 13 years ago, I would fucking punch my old Ron in the face. There's some guys, so there's certain things that old Ron still does now. But this version of me is the best version that I've been through of me now because of the shit that I had to go through. Losing Joseph, having so many near-death experiences.
Nakayakan mo na naman ako.
Wag. Okay. But that's also what's a good investor is. Full disclosure, Kat's my investor. When my co-founder passed away, I was like, I'm sorry, but I'll tell you this. And I think you were overseas. Joseph passed away and all that, right?
I
But
still remember when you...
rest assured, I will trudge on. And 3 years after, we're still here and we're better than ever, baby.
That's why. I mean, you know, I think it's difficult to be a founder in so many ways, right? And if you're doing it, you know, to be sexy or whatever, because you think it's cool. Or even you mentioned like hopefully there's a pot of gold. I feel like, I mean, again, it's very privileged to say this, but it's like the goal shouldn't be the gold, right?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like the gold is it's external validation of you've built something. But ultimately, what is a founder? Right? Like a founder is someone that's, created something out of nothing. That's why I think they say founders have a God complex or whatever, right? It's you're a creator, right?
Yeah.
So,
which reminds me, I remember a conversation we had 2016.
Deep
2016
cuts.
ba? No, 2017. Conference room of Kubo. I think you're the first person I told that, Kat, I might be selling chatbot. And he told me, why so low? Kat, this is... Typical Kat Chan's like, really? You're going to sell it right away? And I was like, Kat, I came from a loss and this is a win. This is a win that allows us to do what we need to do in such a nascent industry
and take care of your
AI.
people.
Right? And I get to take care of the people that I need to take care of.
Yeah.
I'll take the win. And then again, it's a great narrative over how you guys enabled us to do it. It's again, surrounding yourself with the right people that allow you to win and still make mistakes in the process. That will never disappear. The only difference now is that they're probably not in the event. They're surrounded with the wantrepreneurs. But the wantrepreneurs, if you just persist long enough, you will evolve. I was a wantrepreneur. I swear. A lot of my peers are all wantrepreneurs as well. But you have to evolve.
Some of these wantrepreneurs will be bona fide.
But be careful who you choose as your role model, not mentor. You need multiple role models because that's how I got here. I patterned it. It took what I wanted from so many men and women and then molded it to the version of me, right? So you just have to go out of here. Unfortunately, not all of them are going to be in the events anymore, but do your research. The reason why I did Hustle Share. Correct. Go to the events. But the reason why I did the Hustle Share is so that in your own time, when I die, you have this Rolodex of the amazing journeys and the amazing mistakes of the people that built this ecosystem. Yun na yung cheat code nyo. Research, right? It's there. It will outlive me.
You're the archivist.
Yun. I basically archived all your stories. Yun, and hopefully people will
hopefully it's a good, this story has an amazing kind of ending. No? Like, I hope this doesn't become a what not to do. Ecosystem fail. No, I'm at the end of the day, I'm still super bullish on the Philippine
for sure.
ecosystem. Not just because of all the macros.
Hindi lang maingay yung progress. There's a lot of progress. And companies are profitable now.
If we actually end up building some Filipino built businesses, right, that stand the test of time, that change. There's so many things that we still need here in the Philippines. And at the end of the day, like, this is our country, right? Like, I'm not to be super patriotic about it. And again, I'm very much like, we have to spread this to the world, right? And there's still more places like Philippines and Palo Alto, like all of these things, right?
Do you want to play a game real quick? Let's name names of startups that are actually doing well and you don't know about it. Hindi lang sila maingay. And throw them their flowers. Game or no?
Ang hirap na.
5. 5 lang. 5 from me, 5 from you. Of startups that we know are still killing it.
Yun nga, parang I think I hear more about the ones that aren't killing it.
The
ones that are parang may problema na ngayon. That's what I hear about eh.
Okay, wag na. Cut.
Hindi, kasi I feel like, di ba parang may chismisan kapag bad news. Not to shit on them, but it's like, hirap ngayon si ganyan, right? Like, mga ganun. I get that way more than, I don't know, that's maybe also a bad thing, no? Like, I think we don't talk about good news too much.
Yun nga, that's what I fucking hate when your fellow founders are the ones shitting on you. I mean, meron naman
it's more
okay,
of like,
okay.
Yun na nga, parang something good happens. People are just like, they don't
brush it off.
They don't
celebrate them.
We don't celebrate enough.
Yeah. Or they fake celebrate them on LinkedIn when in reality, they wish them bad shit. It's just weird. So basically, the last thing that she said here is, in conclusion, again, I'm just paraphrasing. I'm not here to do a dissertation of her freaking article. If you want it, read it up for yourself. I just felt like it's something that needed to be talked about.
It resonated with you.
Right. No, and because if we just took it as canon, weird din naman nun because we know where the real builders are. That's my POV here.
That's true.
That a lot of my peers, I can probably name a handful of people are secretly or silently winning and you don't know about it. Yeah, but I'm not gonna name names. So yeah, secret lang.
I do think I do wish there was a bit more of a positive, naman I get cheerleading na naman ako, but it's like I've been doing it exactly that it's critical of, but I mean, because I do think again there's earnest intention and maybe reasons why people are doing things the way they're doing it, right? Like, and obviously, is there always room to improve and grow? Yeah, absolutely. That's I've said that like 10 times just in this podcast. Like, you need to be able to take feedback and build off of it, right? But I don't think any of these things are inherently wrong or sort of that they're dooming us somehow, right?
Correct.
Like, so anyways, sorry, you were saying.
No,
like,
and basically her take is the ecosystem needs fewer cheerleaders and more builders. We need both.
Yeah, 100%. Why
it's not more.
It's not zero sum.
Yes.
Yeah, you need both cheerleading and
Yun lang, the real builders lang that are worth celebrating and are unfortunately jaded. They know the opportunity cost and they've been pummeled before. So bala sila. I'm just gonna do my shit silently.
I will accept your defense of the jaded, but let's cheer for them anyway, guys. And
Yon. You just need to flesh those stories out. And if you see it, don't shit on other founders. That's my only thing. That's my biggest pet peeve when founders shit on other founders. You shouldn't. My hot take all the time is like, if you see one of your peers are not doing well and it landed on your lap, keep it with you. Because it doesn't help them in. Like, I don't know, just play it
talk
coy.
to them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
reach out.
Yeah.
Extend a hand. Be that person. Because for us, PNA, Kat, the only reason why you're still around is because so many of you guys helped me out. So I'm forever grateful. It did not take my Herculean effort. Everybody chipped in talaga, literally, to give us a chance. So I'm super grateful for it. Even if people had to take a cut because of a fucking down round, wala.
And this is the cheesy, but again, I actually believe this in my soul, right? Like the community, the bayanihan spirit of Kubo, like that's something that always gives me optimism and hope. And I mean, it sounds like people are dissing it, like about our community. Like people genuinely want to help each other.
Yeah, for sure.
We're happy when other people succeed in general, I want to say. And like, I guess people do pitch in. Like, so, again, I think we can only rely on each other, right? Like not so many people can have said genuinely that they've gone through this journey.
Yeah.
It's not just content to kind of write about, right? Like these are real. I mean, in this particular case, it is content, but there's so much we can learn from each other, but we still do need to show up for each other.
Absolutely. Whether you're a peer, you're an ecosystem builder, whatever, doesn't matter. But we just need to, again, if bad shit lands in your lap, keep it with you. Don't pass it along. And if there's somebody who wins genuinely, please find a way to really cheer them on. Or number 3, the most important one actually, be helpful. Because everybody needs help. There's always value that you can give. Be helpful. Now, Kat, before I let you go, Ken, fresh off the wedding, what's next? So, okay, where are we gonna find Kat Chan? What is the next project? Because of course you're still a big part of the ecosystem. But what's next for you?
Oh, secret muna.
Secret muna.
Secret muna.
Okay.
But you can find me in Sinigang Valley events.
Yeah.
So, and also as part of the Startup Venture Fund. So those are probably my startup ganaps.
Yep.
And of course, Geeks on a Beach. Super fun.
Ba? Okay, I don't know. Meron ba this year? I don't know yet. We'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I will make that announcement. And timing is everything. So
yeah, all right. Thank you so much,
thanks
Kat.
for having me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. But before I let you go, follow us on whatever podcast app you're listening to, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if we did say some jargon or the link, like what I was saying, the link that the girl created is going to be in the show notes on hustleshare.com and also in the episode description. We'll also flash it para makita nyo. Again, we're just reacting because we felt like there's some things that are absolutely correct and there's some things that probably got missed out. Not hating, but it's great that we surface that out. And also, if you want to support Hustle Share doing content like this, please do subscribe or help and reach out to us at premium.hustleshare.com. Again, Kat, thank you very much and welcome back to the real world, Mrs.
Glad
Charkin.
to be
There you
here.
go. All right, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
You've just witnessed greatness in the making. These aren't just success stories, they're blueprints for your future. Founders Only, where ambition meets wisdom. You've heard their stories. Now it's time to write yours. Founders Only, streaming now on all platforms. Subscribe and never miss a story. They risked everything, failed spectacularly, and came back stronger. Founders Only, the show where successful entrepreneurs reveal what it really takes. Where risk meets reward. Get ahead now. Subscribe to Founders Only on YouTube and Spotify for breakthrough conversations, expert advice, and the insights your competition doesn't have.